Hello, everyone. This is John Browning from the Building Your Life podcast, and we are here with Holly Morphew. Help me with your last name. Make sure I'm saying it
It's
right.
Morphew. It's an
Morphew.
oxymoron.
Okay. Okay.
Do you want
Gotcha.
more or few?
More or few. That's right. We want more this time. This particular podcast. Those of you who are regular listeners, you may have heard us do a podcast one other time before, just about a month or 2 months ish ago.
Something like that. Yes.
And we talked about the parallels between Holly's book, Simple Wealth. There it is for those of you looking. See, I have dog ears. If you are watching on YouTube, if you're not watching on YouTube, it's called Simple Wealth, the practical guide to transform your relationship with money and live life in abundance or live in abundance. And of course, you all know my book, Build a Life, not a portfolio. And a lot of people say I should not just a portfolio, but I didn't. So it's forever in print. So these two books parallel on so many different levels. And when I met Holly, I said, we've got to do some podcasts together, but we're going to be talking about what you want more of on this podcast. And it's something that I talk about a lot too, because a lot of people will tell me, well, cash is king. And I always tell them back, cash is not king. Cash flow is king. And Holly, in your book, page number 105, so you got to go get the book if you want to read the whole thing, but it's the first pillar of wealth is, Holly?
Maximize cash flow.
There we go. I love it. And Holly has come up with a list of 111 because she just couldn't come up with 112 different ways that you can make cash, create cash, different ideas. You don't have to be a genius. The only thing I would say is that you do have to do some work, right? Nothing's free, nothing's easy, but there's some really interesting ones. I'm gonna ask you about a few of them, but what are some of your favorite ones that you came up with, Holly?
Oh my gosh. Well, if you listen to the podcast that John and I recorded a couple months ago now, I share my personal story of where I started on my wealth journey, which was with $67,000 of credit card debt, living paycheck to paycheck. And, not a fun place to be, but definitely a moment in my life when I realized that where I went from there was really up to me. And I also had this feeling that there was so much more to life than just working and paying bills and, feeling stressed about money. I just knew that there was so much more for me. And a big part of my own journey to becoming financially independent in my 30s. So I eliminated my debt in 3 years. I became financially independent in my 30s. And that's really what Simple Wealth is about, which is the system that I used to become financially independent and to eliminate that debt. So 2 years into my debt elimination journey, and it really did take me about 3 years to eliminate the five-figure debt that I had, I started thinking, gosh, it would be so much easier and faster for me to eliminate this debt if I just created more income. And so that's what really inspired me to create this list of 111 ways to create additional income. It is because money truly is infinite. It's this thing that we can create more of. And John mentioned, nothing's easy and nothing is for free. And I do believe that there is so much value in hard work and that income follows impact. And when we really put our heart and soul into something, we can create those big dollars that we all really want. I also think that there are some really easy ways to create income. I don't even know if it's on this list, but what's amazing about this world that we're living in today is that if you have, a computer and you're connected to the internet, you can sell just about anything to anyone. There's a market for everything.
Everything.
And I won't even get into some of the things that, I've been a financial coach now for 18 years, and I feel like at this point I've kind of seen it all. but like this, the simple things, starting with what are your personal interests? What are your current resources? What are your unique skills? And one of the things that I realized that I had that I wasn't really monetizing was an extra room in my house. So I got a roommate and she paid me cheap rent, but it helped me pay my mortgage and it was win-win for both of us. And that's what got me thinking about, well, what are some other things that I could monetize, from like selling stuff that you don't want or need anymore to, renting your car on, now we have Turo, which makes it
Yeah.
really easy to, rent your car. But we have so much, the technology today compared to when I started out is so much greater. And so why not utilize that, right?
Exactly. And it's my son is doing that too. How can I get into my first house? And the bank still will give you more than you can afford. So you got to really watch that with your mortgage, as has always been the case, I think. But he wanted to get something affordable, but then maybe just a little uncomfortable, because you almost have to do that these days when you're younger and not making a lot of money. And he put, is there's roomies.com, and there's a couple of Facebook marketplace. You got to be careful about it, and there's some safety issues, right? But he's, the way he's worked it out is he pretty much has his entire mortgage paid now with roommates. And he bought a 3-bedroom house, and he's getting it done. So it is possible. I've seen it happen. You did it. My son's doing it, and you just got to be willing to do that. And I would just say with that one, make sure that you do the screening and do the, meet the person, make sure you're compatible, because you're going to be in this pretty close quarters. But that's a great way. Your car on Turo, I know several people that are doing that. And as a matter of fact, on that one, I can personally vouch that there's a few people that I know who have actually bought additional cars now and actually made a business out of it, and they're doing quite well.
Yeah.
It's profitable for them. So, suddenly you might find out you've got a passion for that. And one of these guys he's a car vehicle, not just a car, but a vehicle nut. And he really enjoys it. So now he has a personal vehicle that he can choose which one he drives based on which ones he's rented out. And so he also enhanced his best life by
Oh,
doing this as well.
I
So,
love that. I love that. And really thinking creatively about, what kind of life do I want to be living and how can we start to match the ways that we make money? How can we even monetize our time? How can I do something that like, let's say I love to hike, which is true.
there you
But
go.
how, maybe do an Airbnb experience where you take people out hiking and not now you're doing something that you love, but you're getting paid for it and you're meeting new people and you're having connections and this is abundance, right?
Right. Right. And
Um,
just I got to point out one thing too. This is an important point that I wanted to make sure we get out there. Is on page 38 of your book. It talks about giving every dollar a purpose. So what sometimes will happen is you'll go out and you'll figure out a way to earn some more money, but you didn't give that dollar a purpose. You don't have a plan for that dollar and what job you're going to give that dollar.
yep.
And so you spend it, right? So that's
Oh,
another thing to be careful of, right?
I mean, spending money is wonderful. That's the whole point, right? We want to make, as much money as we need to live the life that we want to live and, have money left over for the things that we want to enjoy. So, yes, spending money is wonderful. But I love that you brought up that golden rule of money, give every dollar a purpose, because there's always an opportunity cost. So if you're going to make the money or you're going to save the money, then we've got to put it into savings accounts, retirement accounts, investment accounts, and grow the money. And then once it grows to a point that you've got excess cash, you can pay for the things you need to pay for and you're on track for financial independence or retirement, whatever you like to call it, then, you're golden at that point.
Right, right. And for a while, maybe the purpose of that dollar, the job of that dollar is paying down your debt. But then if you find something you're passionate about and something that you enjoy for that extra income, you just keep doing it. And then you start investing and you start having it grow for you and work for you
Yeah.
in that same direction. But you were going to say something else and I interrupted you. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. You asked me earlier, what are some of my favorite ways to earn additional income? And, I think back over the years, things that I've done to intentionally make additional money or just money opportunities that came to me. And something that came to mind, which is not on the additional income guide, which, by the way, is available for all of your listeners. Just go to my website, financialimpact.com, go to the freebies section. You can find this guide. You can download it for yourself so you can get the guide. But one of the things that kind of happened to me on my own wealth journey, creating more income in my life is I coached high school volleyball for 14 years. And I did get paid to coach high school volleyball, but I don't think coaches get paid enough because it's basically like a full-time job, especially when you're coaching varsity programs, which I was doing. And we had one night where we didn't have an announcer, and the athletic director said, "Oh, Holly, you have a great voice. Will you announce the lineup for us?" And I was so scared. I remember thinking, "Oh, but what if I fail? What if I'm terrible?" She's like, "No, just give it a try. I'll pay you $20."
$20. Yeah, no.
So, I did it and it was fun. I discovered it was something that I really enjoyed doing. So I announced the lineup at every game after that.
There you go. Did you get $20 every time?
Every time
Oh,
she paid me.
see.
And I would say, "No, you don't need to pay me." She's like, "No, I'm paying you. This is a job. We want you to show up. We want you to do it." And, there's something to be said too for being compensated for your heartfelt work,
Mhm.
for what you're showing up to do. We get what we ask for in life. So you might discover that you have a skill that you can be paid to do and get paid for it. Don't work for free.
Don't work for free. That's probably, as I talk with small business owners and people who are just sort of starting out in maybe trying to make some extra money on the side in addition to maybe their full-time job or something like that. That is probably the biggest impediment, problem, whatever you want to call it, challenge that I see is that it's really easy because a lot of people won't value what you do, and that's okay. Then that's probably not your customer. But as soon as you begin, I've learned this in several different businesses that I've run. As soon as you discount, now I understand there's family, there's friends, and all that kind of stuff. Maybe there's some room there, but maybe a special class of investor you really want to serve or something like that. And then, but as the minute you start to discount is the minute that you get your worst client that will continue to ask you for discounts and will not value you. And I'll tell you a quick story. We were running a kids program at our church. This is several years ago, probably getting close to 20 years ago. And we found that when the kids would come in for free, that they wouldn't show up, right? The parents would come one week, then maybe not. And then it's kind of like the babysitting instead of like the program that we wanted it to be, which was exciting. The kids would learn some value and all that. Then we started charging not much, $20 for the whole year. All of a sudden, the parents and the kids, they started showing up and they valued it. And I think that's so important. If you're doing a service and out in the marketplace, it costs a certain amount for that service. Just because you're new to it as a business, but you've got experience and you're passionate about it, charge what you're worth. And people will either pay it or they're not your ideal customer. They're not who you should be serving, because there are people out there that will value it.
Yes. And the value starts with ourself, right? So we
Yeah.
have to value ourselves enough to ask for what we deserve in life. And if we're not valuing ourselves and asking for what it is that we deserve and asking for what it is that we want, then we're not going to get it.
Right. That's right. You have to ask for it. You have to believe it. You have to get rid of the head trash. Just because something comes easy to you doesn't mean that it is easy to everyone, and it can provide a valuable service. Some of the things you had on your list were not hard, but like somebody who can type really well. Like one of the things that is crazy weird about me is I can type like crazy. I made some money in college typing people's papers until I met my fiance, and she was a nursing major and had like 50-page papers. Then I was just doing hers for free. I don't know how that worked, but
Good man, John.
but hey, she stuck with me for
She's like, this
33
guy
years.
is a keeper.
Yes.
He's making my life easier.
Uh-huh. Yep. So, but if you can type, you can do that. I forget what it was called, but it was
Captioner, number 67.
there you go. What was it again?
Captioner.
Captioner. Okay. And I think there was another one too. So if somebody wants you transcriptionist where they talk audio and then you type it in,
Yes.
if you're a great typer and you can do that, it's
Yeah.
perfect, right?
Or you have a great, again, going back to the voice thing. I remember recording a video way back in the day for a job that I had, and the videographer was like, Holly, you should go to voices.com. This was like 15 years ago. And he was like, record a little demo and get paid to record things. And I never did that, but I thought, wow, that's a really good idea.
Yeah, God gave you the voice, right? I mean, it's like it's like
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
you
Use what you got. We got to use what
that's,
we got.
that's exactly right. One of my favorites that I saw on the list too was the idea of selling your stuff you don't use anymore, don't want anymore, don't need anymore. Maybe you never did need it, you just bought it, right? And I got a great story about that one. So we were doing a lot of moving around. Not that long ago, actually, we went to Hawaii, spent a year there. Went to North Carolina, spent about a year there. And we needed a washer and dryer. We actually needed several things. Like we had to furnish the house, right? So we went on Facebook Marketplace and a few other those little things. We furnished our whole house in North Carolina for roughly just under $500, including a washer and dryer, if you can believe that.
No, I
Like
cannot.
no
But yes,
joke.
I can. Facebook Marketplace is amazing.
Yeah. So here's the crazy thing. When we got ready to move down here to Florida, where we are now, the one thing that it was just like, I don't want to take this washer and dryer with me. Plus, I don't have room in the truck. I quick put it on Facebook Marketplace, ended up selling it the same day for the exact same price I bought it for.
That's awesome.
You can do this kind of stuff in today's world, right?
And it's important I love that you shared that story, John, because life is so expensive nowadays that kind of going back to getting uncomfortable for a period of time. Like if you're willing to get uncomfortable for a year or 2 years or 3 years, like do something different to get ahead financially, like just temporarily. Like you don't have to get a brand new apartment with brand new furniture. Don't do that. It's just like shooting yourself in the foot. Like go out and be creative and find ways to get your needs met without paying retail prices.
That's 100% on that. And I think maybe we get spoiled. It's all got to be new, right? But yeah, the other thing that my son really likes about renting out his room, going back a little bit there, is that's especially here in South Florida, the rents are insane. So he's providing a way for someone to get a much lower cost rent than they would have been, or maybe they wouldn't have been able to
Yeah.
get a place, close enough to work where they weren't spending too much on, car costs and gasoline costs and things like that. And he feels good about that. And some of his renters are great people. They're wonderful people. So one of them's a student, trying to get by and pay for some school, and at the same time, and she would not have been able to really do that without him opening up one of his rooms. And so everybody wins, right? So you're also providing a service that people need.
Yeah. Yeah. The win-win-win scenario is really amazing. And we are living such sort of separate lives anymore. I think that's one of the reasons that people are stressed financially, because we've got, whether it's a single income household trying to pay for everything off of one income. When you really start to think about what makes life enjoyable? You know, it's laughter, it's connection, it's community, it's, you know, having someone to ask you how your day was. It's, you know, animals and kids and family. And so this personal finance journey, this wealth building journey, when we really take a step back and look at what are we doing, we're finding ways to save money, we're finding ways to grow our money. In that process, we are rediscovering the things that make life worth living. It's like we're going back to the community mentality, like the it takes a village mentality to to create personal wealth. And to me, that's really beautiful because when we get rid of the financial stress that comes with debt and not being on track for retirement, and there are again infinite ways to do that, you know, working with John as your financial advisor, your wealth manager, working with me, someone who's going to help you eliminate that debt and create a system so that you feel in control of your money and you find creative ways to get your needs met without going further into debt. That feels really good. And when our nervous system is calm, then we're more creative. We're more capable of having meaningful relationships. And so, you know, this journey, it's not just about money. It's really about building a life. Right, John?
There we go. If you're on YouTube, I'm showing you my book now. Build a life, not a portfolio. Exactly. Money is just a tool. You use that tool to create your best life as you define it, not as your mother, your brother, your sister, your best friend would define it for you, but as you define it. And spending some time thinking about what that is and why that is like super, super important. So,
Yeah, why they don't teach us this in school. I mean, it's one of the very first things that we do in my private program is create a personal life vision. And it's our life vision is built upon our core values. And I remember discovering my core values in my I think I was in my 30s the first time I was asked to do this exercise. And at that moment when I defined my core values at the time, it was love, freedom, and authenticity. And now my core values have expanded out to, you know, creativity and um, connection and nature and contribution. But I remember thinking when I first did this exercise, if I had been invited to get clear on what I value as a person, as a unique individual in this world, what's truly important to me, if I had done that in high school or maybe middle school, how much more power I would have felt being in the world and navigating those you know, it's hard growing up, okay, but like
yeah.
if I knew what I stood for, whether it was like honesty or authenticity or transparency or love or collaboration over competition, then I think it would have helped me feel more grounded and more stable and more powerful making my way through the world.
Yep. I you yeah, I couldn't agree more on that one. Don't even have anything to add on that. I mean that was powerful what you just said there,
Well, thank you.
and that really goes back to the fact that too I think there's just a lot of head trash out there, right? And it's your mindset, and your mindset matters. And maybe you need to just talk it through. Again, don't talk it through with your mom or your dad or your friend. Talk it through with an independent third party like Holly, right?
Yeah.
Because your friends, your family, they're they're going to have a hard time challenging you, and that relationship will get in the way. And you'll not want to tell them something that would be really good information. So it's tempting just to talk to somebody that you already know, but it is so worth it. And Holly, maybe give us give us an idea of, you know, I know it's different, right, for each individual and all that, but I mean, does it cost $10,000 to work with you? I don't
No,
think so,
it
right?
does not cost $10,000 to work with me, John. I have intentionally priced my programs so that people can afford them. It is so important to me that my clients get the transformation that they're coming to me for. And up until really the past, I would say, well, it's been about 18 years that I've been a financial coach. This industry didn't even exist when I first started out. I didn't even know what to call myself. But of course, that's changed. I've really played a role in pioneering this industry, and that's been really important to me. And it's wonderful to see that there are more financial coaches there out there in the world. But what I will say is to to expand on what you just said, John, it is so powerful to have someone to hold space for you, to be all of you in all of the messiness, but also all of the beauty that each one of us is. And at the end of 2021, I was working with a coach. So I believe that coaches have coaches. You know, if you're hiring a coach, then you want to make sure that that coach also has a coach, because not all coaches are created equally. All right.
Mhm.
So I was working with a coach at the end of, or all throughout 2021. And one day, this is November, he said to me, Holly, this is the masculine in me speaking to the masculine in you. When are you going to change your living situation? And, you know, he asked me that question because he was really trying to speak to that part of me, that very linear type A corporate finance Capricorn Holly who just wants to be successful. But there's also a very soft, nurturing side to me. And you know, I can get lost in that sometimes. And so he really wanted to make sure that I was hearing him basically say, quit complaining about how much you don't like your living situation and do something about it already. And so that in that moment, I heard him and I called my mortgage banker, got pre-qualified, found my dream home, which I'm living in now, which coincidentally was on my vision board. It's not the same building, but it was very similar. It was on my vision board that year in 2021. It looked like a building in Florida, actually, like a tall, high-rise, beautiful glass building on water with the sun setting behind it. I was like, I don't know. At the time, I was living in a house. It didn't even come into my paradigm that I would live in a place like this. I thought I was going to go spend a couple months at an Airbnb because I used to travel quite a bit. And long story short, because I was willing to invest my time and my money in a coaching relationship with someone who could hold that space for me and call me higher, it transformed my life.
Yeah.
And so I just share that with you because I love that you're bringing up how important it is for us to do our personal work with someone who has our best interest in mind, but can also reach us in a way that helps us take that transformational action.
Yes. And if you look at the examples of people who are truly, we would consider great, like great at what they do, whether that's sports or anything else, and you really like read, you know, how they got there, they all have coaches, most of them multiple coaches that drill down on specific areas of what they are doing to make them better. I have a coach. I'm sure, like you said, you have a coach. I have actually multiple coaches that I utilize, and it's just you're right. I mean, not to be melodramatic about it, but it has changed my life to an enormous degree. So again, starting out, it can be intimidating, right? To think about hiring somebody like yourself, like Holly, as a coach, but it doesn't cost $10,000. She makes it affordable for you, and the value that you will get from that is astronomical, possibly, you know, over a long period of time, somewhat immeasurable. So best way to get a hold of Holly is, one more time.
My website is financialimpact.com, and you can also find me on Instagram at Holly Morph is my handle.
All right. And those of you who listen to me often, you're going to hear it again. It's guardianrockwealth.com, or you can text the word life, just LIFE, to 321-421-5213. And we'll have all of this in the show notes. So you'll be able to look down below, and however you're listening on Apple iTunes or Spotify or YouTube or wherever you are. And you can also find me all over on LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever you like to take a look at things. And we put out a lot of free content, including the Building Your Life podcast. We've got a morning update if you want to cut through all the noise and just listen for 5 minutes instead of for hours on end. We try and boil things down. And if you'd like to subscribe to that, that is available as well. We'll put that in the show notes also. But this was fantastic, Holly. Thanks so much for doing this again with me and with our audience. That idea, we talk a lot about investing, and we talk a lot about those who have a lot of money or are just getting to the point where they have a lot of money. And we want to include in the Building Your Life podcast also how to get there. What's the path to get there? And largely, especially for those who are maybe a little bit younger, or maybe they made a mistake, and we all do, or maybe some reason that is completely not their fault. It could be a health issue or something else, and they've gotten themselves into a debt situation, something like that, and they need somebody who's been there, done that, and done coaching to come alongside them and get them moving again. And maybe it's just getting rid of the head trash, right?
Yes, I'm just nodding over here because everything you say is golden.
So we're gonna sign off until the next Building Your Life episode next week. But Holly, once again, thanks so much for being here, and we will definitely have your information down in the show notes. Looking forward to talking again with you soon.
Thanks so much, John. It's really been a pleasure.